World War II had major impacts all around the world, including America. The three major areas that were the most affected were the social, economic, and political areas of the United States. Socially in America, things started to shift because of the war. Women had to pick up after the men as they enlisted. They started to challenge traditional roles as homemakers. Some did stay at home and raise children, but 19 million women entered the workforce during World War II, and they worked in many different positions. For example, they worked in war industries, factories, and farms. They drove trucks, provided logistics to soldiers, and entered professional areas of work like nursing and jobs in the federal government. Women also entered the military, 750,000 to be precise. After the war, the women in the workforce dropped from 36 to 28%, and the birth rate increased as well. African Americans also started to create a major role for themselves as they enlisted in the military. There they experienced quite a bit of racism and segregation. The Tuskegee Airmen were an armed forces unit and were the first military aviators. Even though African American men fought and died in Europe, none were awarded the Medal of Honor. Hispanics helped on the home front and in the front in Europe as well. They fought in every major battle but were not entirely segregated like the African Americans. Hispanic women worked as secretaries, nurses, and even helped build airplanes. Hispanics from Mexico could immigrate to help on farms as well as the other farm keepers went off to fight. This time was a turning point in Native American history as well. They left the reservations to join the military and to seek out opportunities to find well-paying jobs. Actually, the military used the Navajo language as an oral code and it has not been broken by any other country. Obviously, the Japanese in America were affected as well, as they were placed into internment camps, which stemmed from the racial prejudice that was in the country. They lost irreplaceable personal property, and some even died because of the lack of medical care, and even killed by the sentries of the camp. The economy had also been impacted by World War II. Franklin Roosevelt was the president during the time, and he had prepared the economy for this event. World War II had begun after America had experienced the Great Depression, which included bank failure and a high unemployment rate. Roosevelt's creation of a war economy included the construction and evolving of factories to help the war front. The factories started developing military vehicles and equipment, and aircrafts and warship production increased. Because of this, new job positions were created, providing women with an entry into the workforce. These women were called Rosies, and African Americans entered manufacturing positions in these factories as well. Since so many men enlisted into the army, there was a lack in the agricultural industry. So the government allowed for Mexicans to immigrate to America to work on farms. Even though America spent a lot of money on this war, these new economic developments ended the era of the Great Depression. Politically, Franklin Roosevelt passed and encouraged different acts and programs to help America and even European nations. One of these acts was the Lend-Lease Act, which provided U.S. military aid to foreign nations. Three programs that were encouraged were war bonds, rationing, and the Victory Gardens. The war bonds were to remove money out of circulation, and the rationing and the Victory Gardens were encouraged to help provide food to the soldiers on the front. Some of the major political focuses in America were foreign policy and national defense. After the war, the GI Bill was created and it led to the construction of many homes. This stopped the house shortages in America and added additional jobs. People started going back to school to get a higher education after the war as well. And social service programs were created that ensured jobs, food, medical care, housing, and even social insurance. All of these provided an economic safety net in America. In conclusion, World War II majorly impacted America socially, economically, and politically, such as providing opportunities to women, African Americans, Native Americans, Hispanics, and even affected the Japanese. Economically, it brought America out of the era of the Great Depression, and politically, it developed the political system we have today.
Woo!